Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Miller, for welcoming everyone who's here, and thank you all for joining us for this chapter chat. As Susan said, it's the first one we're having kind of this academic year, but I think it's our 10th that we've ever hosted. So it was a project that kind of came out of COVID era, and we decided that it was something we wanted to keep up. So as a reminder, sessions are recorded and then they're available on our YouTube channel. So at FIU National is kind of our handle if you want to find us on YouTube, and we'll get it posted as soon as we can. And there's lots of other great chapter chats available. So to kick off this session, I'm so excited to welcome and introduce Miss Kennedy Halling. She was Kennedy Navis before, and she is a past National Collegiate Chair and Tau Chapter Alumni. So that's from University of Wisconsin Stout. So shameless plug, that will also be the location for our next National Conclave, October 3rd through 5th, 2024. So mark your calendars. We're so excited. If you joined us earlier, you heard some conversations about cheese curds. So don't want to miss that. So today's session is called The Family Room, How One FCS Teacher Fulfilled a Need by Launching a Teen and Parent Coaching Business. So Kennedy is here to discuss her recently launched new parent and teen coaching business, The Family Room. It helps parents strengthen the connection with their teen and navigate the teen years with confidence. She will share more about how she got started, what she does, her inspiration, branding, and more. And she was actually awarded the Red Letter Grant, which is a startup grant for women-owned businesses across 10 counties in Western Wisconsin. So congratulations, Kennedy. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I have a little something to share. Share my screen. Do I have access to that?
Oh, yes.
If not, I can just talk.
I should be able to allow you to, multiple participants can share their screen. So
you are speedy. Thank you. All right.
I had down, but I just didn't.
I love it. Here we are. All right. Can you see my screen fine? Yeah, wonderful.
Yes, I can.
All right. Perfect. Well, thanks again for having me. My name is Kennedy Halling. I am the founder of The Family Room. It's a parent and teen coaching business out of Eau Claire, Wisconsin. So a little bit about my FIU background. So like Melissa said, I attended the University of Wisconsin Stout for my undergrad. I majored in family and consumer science education to be a FACS teacher. Or a FACE teacher, you might call it. I was the Tau Chapter president while at Stout. We received first place in our professional project that year. And I was also the Regent 1 collegiate rep in chair. So that was during our conclave in Boston. Here are some little fun pictures I dug out of the archives. Melissa, I thought this picture was so cute. Look at us. While at Stout, I had two wonderful advisors, Dr. Carolyn Barnhart and Dr. Lindsay Barnhart. And the story behind the folded dollar hearts is that something Dr. Barnhart would always do and like put in her cards for friends and family and her grandkids who she loves so much. So that was part of our professional project. So Melissa and I tag team figuring out how to do it. I think this was at a planning meeting for Conclave the year before, and then the picture on the right is the Tau chapter at Conclave in Boston, which seems like forever ago pre-COVID, but how fun. We're really excited to be hosting it at Stout. Mark your calendars, like Melissa said. A little bit more about me. So I currently live in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. For those of you who are familiar with Eau Claire, Wisconsin, I grew up on the east side of the state, a mile from Lake Michigan, went all the way to Menominee, Wisconsin for college, and then ended up in Eau Claire. So I'm about an hour to the Minnesota border, an hour and a half from Mall of America. That's the big one. My undergrad is in family consumer sciences, like I said, and my master's is in family science. I'm one of those crazy people, but I probably don't even need to say that because all of us family consumer sciences peeps are very similar, where I feel like we all really like to learn. And so I'm not really like the crazy person, because I feel like we're all very similar, where I really like to learn and I really liked school. So after finishing my undergrad, I hopped right into my master's program, just because I wanted to kind of dive in and keep learning and just set myself up for more than just teaching. And if I ever wanted to, if it ever came to that. So that being said, I did teach family and consumer sciences education right out of college, for 4.5 years. I taught middle school, which middle school is weird and crazy, but so fun. I actually did not keep my middle school student teaching materials, because I was like, I do not want to teach middle school. And then joke's on me, I only taught middle school, and really liked it. So a little bit about what that looked like in Eau Claire. We call it FACS here. Well, FACS 8 is a required, it's kind of a loose term. All 8th graders in the district take this class, which is super cool. So all 8th graders take my class that consists of cooking, sewing, child development, interior design, and then a little bit of career planning, future planning too. So I just threw in some fun pictures here for you of some of the projects that we've done. A little bit about my experience, like my background of teaching. I'm actually a 4th generation teacher. Both my parents are teachers. My mom still teaches kindergarten. My dad teaches high school business ed. I always knew I wanted to be a teacher. And in high school, I was like, man, I like English and I like my family consumer ed classes. Well, English, if I'm like ever want to set myself up for a little bit more outside of the classroom, I don't, I was trying to brainstorm things I could do with that. But like, man, if I go for family consumer ed, I can go into any of these content areas and have some background in it. And I loved, in high school, I still do like cooking and sewing and crafting and babysitting and kids and learning about families. Like I loved that. So this was totally up my alley. And I really enjoyed it. Middle school again is crazy. I don't know how the math teachers do it. I at least had a little bit of bribery and like chocolate chip cookies, which I use. But talk about like, what a cool job. Am I right? Like I got to teach 13 and 14-year-olds life skills. And these are the skills that people, not everyone leaves high school or leaves middle school with these skills for adulting and for the real world. And so getting to teach those was really cool and really fun. And because they were such hands-on classes, I really believe that that's a part of the reason why I got to build such really cool relationships with students. There's something about like the power of like eating a meal together or preparing a meal together, or the vulnerability of putting yourself out there for the first time to try a new skill. I taught my biggest class ever was 33 kids. So picture, and of course it was the last hour of the day. So picture a classroom full of 33 14-year-olds at, 1:45 p.m. on a Friday. Like it's a little crazy. But we would all be on sewing machines at one time. And for a lot of students, this was their first time on a sewing machine. And like, that's super intimidating and scary. And especially in middle school, it's scary to do something new, and you don't want to be embarrassed and you don't want to mess up. And draw that negative attention to yourself. So getting to lead these students on this crazy journey of family consumer ed is super fun. And overall, I really did enjoy it. I tell some stories, some little snippets to kind of explain my transition from being 100% like my head being in teaching, and then starting to be like, okay, what else is out there and what can I do with what I have. One of the stories I share is that, picture my class of 33 kids on sewing machines, like it's work time. They're sewing these cool, maybe it's felt food. This is hand sewing. How fun is that? Sewing cute little felt food, or we're on sewing machines sewing this cool, like 4-square pillow, like patchwork pillow. Like high energy, fun music, work time, we're chatting, getting stuff done. And then I'll have students coming to my door because I'm the safe, caring adult for them at school, like needing help to be de-escalated before going back to class, or coming to me to have some help regulating their emotions because something big just happened in a different class, or, you know, they were looking at their phone when they weren't supposed to, and something's going on with another friend. And that was my reality for, a while. It was, you know, having my feet in the classroom and doing all the teacher things from my lesson plans and, you know, your fancy ELOs and SLOs and grading and assessments, and, you know, what does that look like? And then like caring for these students on an emotional level and providing them what they needed. That got really hard to do both. And I don't know if anyone has ever taken the Enneagram. I can see some of your faces. Has anyone taken the Enneagram? It's a personality test. Okay, well, that can be your to-do, your homework after this. So it gives you a number 1 through 9. So I'm a number 1, and number 1 is very similar to like type A, type 1, but I'm not type 1, like my house is spotless. Like there's a reason I have blurred background right now. I'm a type 1, like, doing the right thing is like who I am in my deepest core, is like, I want to do the right thing, which is like, cool, right? Like that's commendable, but like, until it like eats you up and you're like, I don't know what the right thing to do is. And that's when it gets really hard. So, you know, I'm teaching, I'm loving this, which is a ton of work, by the way. Loved it, a ton of work. But then you have, just a peek into my brain, but then you have these students who just need help. And just to paint a little bit more of a picture, there's about a little bit less than 280 students per grade. So almost 300 students per grade. So this is a big middle school. This is one of 3 in town. And the services that students need just weren't there for the rising levels of needs that students had. And I really felt like, again, me wanting to be the best I can be, I really needed to step up to be everything for every kid. And that's a good way to say it. I really felt like to do my job well, I had to be everything for every kid. And I was happy to do that. But at a certain point, like there was no work-life balance. Like it was hard to maintain boundaries. I distinctly remember, you know, and I had very good boundaries, very professional boundaries. But I remember there was a weekend where, so for those of you who might not know Instagram super well, you know, you can message your friends just like you can on Facebook, but then there's like a little something up in the corner that says like message requests. So people who don't follow you can message you. And sometimes that's like spam accounts. But I just remember seeing that one weekend, and it was a student sharing with me, because she knew I didn't have my school email on my phone because boundaries, sharing with me that she was concerned about another student and his level of like his poor mental health over the weekend and what might come of that. And so then all of a sudden I have this on me, you know, on the weekend, and just heavy stuff, you know. And I really just realized that I really love these kids, and that middle schoolers are so cool, and that age where they're about to go into high school is so special. And you know, I just like loved the heck out of these kids and just didn't know what to do. So here we are today. I knew I wanted to serve teens and families better than they were being served already in my community and beyond. This problem, like this experience, is not a unique experience to Eau Claire, Wisconsin. This experience is unfortunately the result of, a lot of things. And I am not, please know this, I'm not someone who's like, well, because of COVID, but really like I started teaching pre-COVID, and just the needs of students pre-COVID and post-COVID is astronomical. And I share this with like other professionals too, that I've had conversations with, that like this sounds kind of extreme, but I probably wouldn't read a parenting book or any kind of teen development book that's like pre 2018, and that's probably even pushing it. Like teens are still teens developmentally, but holy cow, like the things that they're faced with every day is insane. And I believe it has never been harder to be a teen than it is now. It's never been harder to care, like be a caring adult of a parent of a teen or of a teen or a parent of a teen. It's just really hard right now. So I decided like it's now or never. I saw the need and I ran with it. And so I am now a business owner. Again, never in my life did I think I would own a business and not be a teacher. I was happy being a teacher forever. Like I thought I'd be a lifer. Like my parents are lifers. Both of my mom's parents were lifers. Like I know what a lifer looks like. And like, I loved that. I would so be a lifer. And then here we are. And as of now, not a lifer. Here's a little bit about my planning process. And maybe I should start a little bit earlier. Last summer, so a year ago, last school year was so wonderful. I really met some students that were like you are me when I was in middle school, and how cool to have the opportunity to like love on these kids and support these kids where it's like, oh my gosh, you are so me. And my lowest of the lows was when I was in middle school. But like I came back. I am so glad that my mental health really took a hit then, because it allowed me to have an awesome high school experience, an awesome college experience. Like, to be seeing kids too who are really struggling was really hard. But how cool to like see them through to the other side. So that was 2 school years ago. And so last summer I had this mindset, like I really want to do more for these teens and families. And I don't know what that looks like, but you know, if I taught kindergarten and if there's a child with some behaviors or some concerning behaviors, there's about, 5 places in town where I could refer their parents to, or some big national centers where they could find free courses online. And that's just not the case for teens. So long story short, I had a few interviews, couldn't really find what I was looking for, was offered a position, but then I was really like, you know what, I don't think I'm ready to leave teaching. So I taught last school year. So over winter break, so just 9 months ago, I was really struggling with my mental health. Winters in the Midwest are hard, and really felt like I had to be everything for every kid, and said like, you know what, Kennedy, you cannot keep doing this. And so I just made the choice to, like, it was close to me leaving in the middle of the school year for my mental health, and I decided to power through it. And I made the choice to do something about it, and it was now or never. Some things have lined up that it made sense that now's the time that I can do something like this. So I did it. So again, winter break 2023, I can't do this anymore. What's next? Really learned more about parent and teen parent coaching through my master's program. Concordia St. Paul has a parent coaching certification. Just learned more about it then, like, wow, this is so cool. I love learning about child development and family systems and family science and how families use their resources, and just like the psychology of like trauma and how the purpose of behaviors. I could just go on and learn about that all day. And then to be able to turn around and apply it was something I thought was really cool. So I decided to do it. In February, just this year, I registered my LLC in the state of Wisconsin. And then February through April, it was like I was working 2 full-time jobs, and teaching an overload. So that's kind of crazy. So what that means in teacher language is, in my district, teachers taught 5 classes and had 2 periods off or without students. I only had 1. So I was working overtime already every day. And then planning a business every night and weekend. So some things that I did during that time, I worked with a business coach to better define my brand and my target audience and my services. I listened to like every podcast I could get my hands on about like your niche and marketing and using social media. And then it was time to build my website. And I was like, well, how do I talk to people? Like, what's my brand voice? Like, who am I talking to? Like, how do I talk to my audience in a way that, like, also I'm young, right? I don't have teen children. So how and why is an adult who's struggling, period, whether with their teen or themselves or both, like how and why would they take me seriously? So learning how to communicate in like a personable, kind, helpful tone. And then I started posting on social media. I made my business social medias and started posting to just get some stuff there. So that's what I did. May 1st, I officially launched. So that means right after spring break, I told my principal that I wouldn't be returning. And then it was public. Like, I was telling people, I was sharing it on social media. I developed a little bit of a following and people knew what I was doing and they were excited about it. And that felt really good. And then it got real at the end of the school year. Packing up was really sad. Saying goodbye to students was really sad. Saying goodbye to a wonderful group of staff too. And yeah. So here we are. I'm in a stage where there's a lot of networking being done, marketing, building relationships, and just overall awareness for what I'm doing and my services. So a little bit about what I believe here at the Family Room. So I believe that families are the experts in their situations, and by walking alongside them, they can implement positive, long-lasting changes. That parents need just as much support and community in the teen years as the toddler years. And again, if we have a toddler or an elementary age student that's struggling with behaviors, with trauma, with regulating their emotions, their pediatrician is a great source. We have some family resource centers in the area, but I wanted something that was for the parent and the teen together. And I wanted a place that gets today's teens, that gets them. I believe that it's never been harder to be a teen, and they're given a bad rap, right? A really bad reputation. When's the last time that a parent of a teen shared with someone else, like, oh, I'm gonna have a freshman next year, or they're gonna be driving soon, and then the other person's like, I love that age. Like, wow, you're gonna have a 17-year-old. I love that age. Like, that just doesn't happen, right? And teenagers are so, like, they read the vibes, like and they're going to rise to the occasion, right? So if you think I'm a bad kid, like, I'm going to be a bad kid. It's easy to be a bad kid. I don't have to do my homework then. That's easy, right? They are funny, creative, and smart. And honestly, some of the coolest humans I know are teenagers. Approaching families with empathy and humility allows both parents and teens to take back control of their emotions in their relationship. So building a business is hard. Building a business is hard when there's not really anything to base it on. It's kind of comparing apples to oranges. So the reason I built this is because there's nothing like it, or at least nothing like it in my area, or exactly kind of how I want it. So I'm really like building this airplane as it flies, and that sounds really not businessy, but that just means I'm adapting and I'm like reading the room and I'm, learning more and changing as the needs arise. And that's what a good teacher does, right? That's what a good business owner does. So that's where we're at. Like Melissa said, I really focus on connection, communication, and boundary setting with parents. And I'll talk a little bit about my services here. I'm slowly moving more into if you would have asked me, how do I say this? Like 3 months ago, beginning of the summer, even my target audience, I would really just say like parents who are struggling with their connection with their teens. It's the parent or the caring adult, the caregiver who's like, I just don't get them. Like, it's the parent who can say like, this kid is driving me bonkers, but I love them, but they're driving me so nuts. Like, that's the kind of parent I want to work with, right? And I still do. But my niche and target audience has changed a little bit as I learn more about trauma in trauma-informed parent coaching and trauma-informed just services for people who are struggling. So I'm starting to branch off a little bit into providing more services specifically for families who have experienced or who are experiencing trauma. So I'm going to give you a little bit of rundown about what this looks like. So right off the bat, the question I get is like, oh, so it's like therapy. And like, well, kinda. I'm not a mental health professional, so I can't, and I don't diagnose anyone. I can have like inklings like, oh, you're struggling with anxiety. You know, I understand that, you know, just from like conversations and asking questions, but coaching is a lot more individual or client led. It's a lot less like preachy. Like you don't have someone preaching at you, telling you what you should be doing. It's really like a one-on-one mutual relationship. I don't it's like life coaching for teens and for parents, but life coaching to me sounds like really yucky. And I want this to be an accessible thing. So about teen coaching. So I work one-on-one with teens, and it's a space for them to speak openly and honestly about their perceptions and their obstacles, like what's going on in their lives. Group coaching offers a social back and forth between teens, and like we know, when groups of people, you know, period, no matter what age, come together, the amount of learning that happens when you're with others in similar situations, or there's just so much learning that takes place from other people's experiences, or, you know, their knowledge, their ideas. And so group coaching is like a very small version of a classroom. It's a small group of teens with similar struggles, who are looking to learn similar skills. So for example, at a local school district this fall, I'm running 2 groups for teens. One is for teens with ADHD, and we're working on executive functioning skills. And another one is for teens who are struggling with self-esteem and want to build more confidence. So we're spending some time talking about like today's perception of beauty and today's perception of what makes you cool. And we're looking at social media and how we can use social media to be like a positive place and not such a place of comparison, which that's a big one right now, right? So topics that often come up in teen coaching are anxiety and depression, school stressors, positive identity, emotional regulation. Those are some big ones. Parent coaching. So these are separate services. Sometimes I have that question too, if I meet with families together. And not necessarily, unless we're all just like having one meeting to like get on the same page, or like an introduction meeting. But these are separate services, and they're also either or services, I guess you could call them. So sometimes I work with just the teen or just the parent, sometimes both, but it doesn't have to be both. So this is not a one-stop shop for like fixing your kid. And the cool thing about parent coaching, like many of us know, when we're working with little people or big little people, teens, so much of their behavior and reaction is us and our emotional regulation, and how we respond to behavior is in our perceptions and our body language even. And so getting to work with parents whose teens are struggling is like my dream job, because I care a lot about these kids, and getting to help the person who has some of the people who have the most influence on them, like better get their kid, like better lead and better, you know, like serve them, parent them, like that's pretty cool. So we focus on building relationships, again, recognizing the needs behind behaviors, a lot of emotional regulation, as well as learning about how we ever got to this point in the first place, what things have went well, what things haven't went well, what have we tried, what has escalated before, talking about boundaries versus rules, talking about, I had another one, talking about like consequences versus discipline, like what does that look like? We talk about that a lot in parent coaching. So again, communication, connection, and boundary setting are my main things. Getting to teach about teen brain development and what's appropriate for teens. It's easy for, it's very common for adults to know the brain development, just like the developmental stage of young kids, like, oh, they're going to hit this. By 6 months, they should be able to do this. By 1 year, they should be able to do this. They're saying this many words by this age. Once they're teens, I don't know, right? So yes, it is developmentally appropriate for your teen to like fight back a little bit, right? Like it's not fun, but they're trying to find their independence. They're trying to find that line. We want teens to become independent, and there's sometimes that road's a little rocky, but we get there. Trauma-informed care and attachment too are very common subjects. So how does coaching work? So we start by developing a trust and rapport. Teens aren't going to learn from someone, and teens don't learn from someone who they don't trust, they don't like, and they don't think likes them. So this can take a while, especially for a teen who has experienced trauma, and especially for a teen who has been burned by other caring adults in their life, which is valid, right? Like if you've trusted everything to an adult before and they've, burned that bridge and they've showed you that they've made you feel this big, like, yeah, why would you just go around trusting random adults who want to help you? Like, I'm just some random person. I don't, that's hard. And it is so special getting to be that caring adult for teens who are struggling, and getting to be that caring adult for teens who, again, have had that bridge burn before. That's a really special, and I'm very privileged to be in that situation. We start with some good old goal setting, right? But you can't call it SMART goals because teens will roll their eyes at you. They are so over the SMART goals at school. I know I was over the SMART goals as a teacher, setting my own too. So we talk about some goals. What do you want to work on? What are some areas that you want to improve on? What does that look like? Like when you think we're done working together with the parent too, like what's your ideal situation? Like, what do you want this to look like? True coaching. And I like to explain this. So if I explain what I'm doing to like a life coach, like a 100% like life coach by the book, they're going to be like, this isn't coaching, because true coaching is asking like 95 or more percent, like just questions. And it's very thought-provoking and very insightful and very deep. I read this once and it makes total sense. So there's coaches for like sleep training, for example. So like getting babies to sleep through the night. So instead of, if I was, helping a young mom help like get her baby to sleep at night, why would I ask her a million questions when I can just say like, eventually, once we get there, like, have you tried this? How about we try this? And like giving some strategies to try, again, that are like mutually agreed upon. This isn't like a preachy thing. This is like, okay, this is going on. Here's what you tried. Here's where we are. Can I offer you an idea? Okay, let's try this. Okay, let's see how it goes, over the week. Excuse me. Let's practice it. And then you're on your way. So again, it's not true coaching. So I also like to call myself kind of like a parent educator in that way too, but it's a mix of peer support. So like, man, that's really hard. Like, especially with my teens, like you will get nowhere with a teen unless you are on their level and they can agree with you to a point on some things. Same with parents, right? It's hard to trust people. This can be a very vulnerable situation. Again, there's coaching in there, mentoring, and psychoeducation. Psychoeducation is just a fancy word for like teaching about and guidance on strategies and theories and tools that they can try to help their situation. And then cheers and tears at the end. We part ways when the clients achieve their goals and implemented changes they can confidently stick to. So again, compared to therapy, coaching's really only present and future based. We don't go back to the past unless it's like what has happened last time? How did we get here? But we're not like digging up every inch of unresolved trauma. We're not just sitting in a session for an hour talking about things that have happened in the past. It's like, I'm like this is how I am too. This is how my brain works. Like I'm a fixer sounds bad because I'm not here to fix people, but I want to get them on their path. Like I want to empower them, show them the tools that they already have in their toolbox and add some more and let's go. Let's do this. So that's what coaching is. My last kind of service, which I guess is kind of a lot of services, is I do some events too. So I do some parent and teen connection events. So this is opportunities for families to spend intentional time together and to connect. So last month I ran a pizza cooking class for parents and teens. It was so fun. It was held at a really cool industrial kitchen space in downtown Eau Claire. Families made a classic pizza and then a dessert pizza together. Super fun. Thank you, Kyle. I appreciate it. And then I have another one coming up in November. I haven't announced it yet, but I'm partnering with a friend who owns a charcuterie company, and parents and teens are working together to create a charcuterie board of local cheeses and meats and garnishes and then take it home. How fun. Then I also offer some teen community events. So there really are not many spaces for teens to just be and to really just be and to be teens and where they can feel safe and do something fun that's age appropriate for them. So my teen community events are just fun, accessible, safe spaces for teens to be themselves, meet friends, learn life skills, and do something fun. So I have some fun classes coming up. One is a paint and plant where they're going to paint a pot and we're going to plant a succulent and we're going to learn about how to actually keep your succulent alive because I, for some reason, am bad at that. And we're going to learn about it. Teens are also so into Crocs right now, which is so funny to me. Has anyone seen, I think they're called Gibbets is like the legit name for them, but the Croc charms, we're going to make Croc charms. I bought the most like fun stuff on Amazon. It's going to be such a good time. But I also have like a babysitting curriculum I really want to teach in a group I want to lead. I want to do some like life skill specific. So like we're going to have a class all about like sewing 101 on mending, sewing 101 and mending. So like sewing on a button, sewing whole like patches. Cool, right? Some budgeting. I've heard a lot about parents and teens wanting to learn more about budgeting. And then I also offer some parent seminars and workshops. So they're interactive presentations on specific topics. So things like they can include building trust with today's teens, supporting teen mental health. I'll show you, I ran one recently on setting boundaries with teens and their screens. So we learned how to maximize the benefits of technology and minimize the negatives, helping teens to think critically about social media. So they're on it, right? They're on their devices. Okay, so now what? And is excuse me, and at what point is just flat out limiting teen screen time like not necessarily helpful? Even as an adult, like there are days when my screen time is way higher than it should be, especially on the weekends. And there's some skills to be learned there, right? I don't know that just setting a timer for only 2 hours on my phone is going to like teach me like the self-regulation and this like the motivation to like have a little bit more self-control over that. I don't think that that's necessarily going to be the most helpful thing, especially like for me, even as an adult. So how to navigate that and how to set boundaries teens will actually follow. That's a big one, right? So this is one of the cool things that I get to do. I'm trying to think. I had an idea for another one, but I can't quite remember. I was actually thinking about running this one again, both in person and virtually, just because, I mean, it's never a bad time of the school year to learn about screen time. Okay, so where do we go from here? My 5-year plan. So, I started this business because I care about families and I care about teens and I care about my family. And I was scared that as a 26-year-old teacher, I was going to be cranky and bitter, and that's not who I am, and that's not who I want it to be. And so how do I steer the ship of my business to a place that not only values and uplifts families in it, but also like empowers me to like be a good family member, right? And to pour what I need to pour into my own family. So that looks like transitioning from more individual coaching to group coaching. Right now, group coaching is like 5%, like very small. It's a very small amount of my week. And I would like to do more of that. In the future, again, just maximizing my time spent with others. I would love to lead more professional development trainings for professionals who serve teens in whatever capacity. So not only did I tell you before that I'm like really like to learn, I talked my husband into paying for another certification, which maybe some of you can relate to that feeling. But I'm currently in the middle of a certification. It's a 2-part. One is becoming a trauma-informed specialist. So just being like all knowledgeable about trauma and how it presents itself in families and how to best help those who've experienced trauma and complex trauma. But then from there, specifically a certification in trauma-informed parent coaching. And I should have said this too. I completed a very general coaching certification this spring. Coaching, again, a difference between coaching and therapy is coaching is pretty unregulated and you don't have to have a coaching certification. So it also makes itself a pretty common, maybe common is not the right word, but I do know a lot of teachers who have stepped into a coaching space because like they've taught high school business ed and finance for 10 years. And now they're helping people one-on-one with their finances and get out of debt for their specific situation. Like that's cool. Right. And I feel like there's another one. But with that too, I'm going to have more experience leading like professional developments for those who work with teens and families in general. And then I would like to offer more self-paced courses and trainings on my website too. So that, I don't know if I have one more slide. That's me. Is there anything else I want to share about the family room? Business ownership is weird and hard and exciting and scary and time consuming. I'm very, where I am right now in life is not where I ever thought I would be. Again, I thought I would be a teacher and a lifer forever. And that isn't the case maybe. And so I am doing the thing. So here's where we are. I'm in a space, I didn't really mention this. I know I have a few more minutes. I'm working with in the state of Wisconsin, there is a county program called CCS, which is Comprehensive Community Services. It is a program that families choose to be in. They are not signed up on their own. They can choose to be in it. And that the two kind of stipulations for being in this program are going through substance recovery or mental health recovery in their mental health journey. And so many of the parents and teens that I'm going to be working with fit into that category through this county program. And that's another reason that I've really stepped into like a trauma-informed care approach to better support these families. And every day's different, every week's different. Like Melissa and Kyle said, if you follow my social media, it's a pretty fun place to be. I give teen lingo 101 every now and then, which is also ever changing, and it's just too fun. So if you want to keep up with the kids and with what's cool, that's where you're going to have to be on Facebook and Instagram. It's at the Family Room EC. And then my website is thefamilyroomec.com too. I saw Melissa put it in the chat. So thank you. Okay, that was a whirlwind. Does anyone have any questions for me? You can ask out loud or put it in the chat.
That was amazing, Kennedy. Thank you so much for just like sharing all the details about your journey and your path. And And one thing I failed to mention at the beginning, our national president is on, Dr. Kyle Robertson, and Dr. Robertson's theme for the 2022-2024 period of time during the presidency is family, the foundation and legacy of FCS. So it's just so neat to see how kind of that core value and that appreciation for the family unit, even though it might look different, just how important it is just to support and nurture and provide for those families. And you're doing just that. Like we're so proud right now. And I know that there are several people on this call right now who have been really inspired by really the trail that you're blazing, right? Not only for yourself, but for your community. So super exciting stuff. And does anyone have any questions? Kennedy was so thorough and so great, but surely someone has a question for her.
Well, I don't really have a question. I probably will in a second, but Kenny, I got to correct you in something. You are a lifer. You're teaching and educating families on how to lead a more productive, positive life together moving forward. That's an educator in and of itself. Just because you don't work for the public school system doesn't mean you're not an educator. And I know that's probably deep in your heart that that's who you feel like you are, and that's what you are. You're a lifer. And your family,
Well, thank you.
consumer sciences teacher, whether you're doing it in public school or not. So
Yeah.
I'm very proud of the work you're starting. I think it'll probably blossom, but just like any new career and any new startup, it usually takes that 2 or 3 years of dredging it out. And so I just want to be there and be your champion and cheer you on.
Thank you.
So I will be there supporting your website and liking everything that I see and sharing it out. And I would encourage you to use AAFCS. They do webinars that they're always looking for content for people to put on that will help get you some exposure. Not to mention train up a bunch of staff all across the country and talk about getting the word out, so use all your resources that you have available to you, and we'll certainly be there to support you. So, but great job. I think you have an exciting future in helping a lot of families out.
Well, thank you. That means a lot to me.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
How are you monetizing your services? Like, who pays you, and how did you decide on that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So just to be real, because we might as well be, right? I went into this and everyone I talked to was like, that's a great idea and that's so needed, which heck yeah, right? But having people pay for it is very different. And because it's not therapy, I can't bill insurance, insurance is off the table. So everything I do is private pay, which makes it very hard and really made me feel yucky. I want my services to be accessible, and the teens that I just these kids are so cool, are the teens who don't have a lot of resources and the families who don't have a lot of resources, and asking families to pay, even $50 a session was not going to be feasible. And at the same time, I need to keep lights on in my house. So partnering with the county is a really good way to serve traditionally underserved populations and lower income families and at-risk teens in a way that they don't pay for the programming, but again, that they self-elect and they sign themselves up to do this program, and then they work with social workers to point them in the right directions of services. And so then I'm contracted with the county, and that's going to be my main source of income, I predict.
Okay.
Good question.
Thank you.
It's all fun and games, so you actually got to make money. It gets a little scary.
Yeah, and I want to echo what Kyle said. I support what you're doing, and I love seeing the next generation of FCS entrepreneurs out there doing their thing. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Yes, I was one day a junior high family and consumer sciences teacher, so I can very much relate to your experiences and really appreciate you taking that to the next level. I think you're only the beginning right now, and I'm going to be looking for really wonderful things to come from this because it is a tough age. I first did it when I was about 24, and I said I would never teach that age group again.
Mhm.
And then I came back as a late 30s, early 40-year-old and absolutely loved it. Actually debated. The university had called and asked if I would come there to teach, and I debated if I wanted to or not because I loved that age student. They were so fun and to be a little mischievous from time to time, but I kind of loved it. I didn't
not
act
boring,
like that
right?
then. Right. Kept you from being boring. But
Yeah.
yes, I'm very proud of you and can definitely see good things coming from this. So
Well,
thank you so much. And for sure, your presentation was fabulous. So
Well, thank you. That means a lot. Man, you guys are like my hype squad. Like we can do this
So-
weekly.
Well,
Yeah.
my question for you, what you kind of talked about some in your video, but like what's your immediate, because you're like you say, you got to keep the lights on. What's your immediate
Mhm.
goal to grow your business so that you can be sustainable? What's the immediate need, I guess? Other
Yeah.
than, a bazillion clients.
If I'm being honest, the immediate need is working a different job to build right now. And yeah, I was hoping that I wouldn't be working another job. I thought that, like I was saying, like everyone's like, oh, this is such a great idea, that I thought I'd be monetizing on it by now, at least a little bit. And that's honestly not the case yet. I'm very new. So my partnership with Chippewa County is just north of here. They are under an umbrella with, I think it's 9 total counties in the area. And through the CCS program, I can deliver my services to both teens and parents of teens. It's not just a program for over 18 or younger 18 or under 18. And so I'm finalizing my contracting process with them. So that step 1 is like being legit with the county and having a contract. But then from there, connecting with social workers to because they're the ones who get the clients and work with the clients. And once they know me, they can kind of send people my way, if that makes sense. But outside of the county, I'm just really working on my marketing, getting my name out there. The events are fun right now, but also the events are a way for me to get my name out there, and just offer families a fun time together through these connection events too. So just a little bit more exposure and marketing too.
Well, I think when you said offering things for kids to have a safe place, teens to have a safe place to go, I'm thinking of my own 2 boys that live in the house. They have a Monday night thing that they go do I'm not even sure exactly like how it operates or what it does, but they love going and they go and get to play free pinball. And they
Oh
just
my
hang
goodness,
out with
so
other
fun.
teens, and it's free on Monday nights from like 8 to 9 o'clock. Otherwise, it's a paid service, like it's like kind of like a game room, but they want teens to come there so that they have a safe place to go hang out where it's supervised and there's no trouble. And I just think that the communities don't have enough places like that.
Yeah.
And so you talking about having those activities just makes me think that, what a neat outlet for kids in the area if you can, again, find a way to monetize it, but yet also provide a service for them. But what a neat concept or idea. So.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you.
And Kennedy, we talked a little bit about how you received this red letter grant as being a startup there. Do you or have you explored any kind of relationships, just as we're speaking here, or grants available through extension? Like, is extension an avenue? Because your Phi U family might be able to put you in touch with some folks that might be able to kind of at least guide you into how you can use your awesome business, but also support the families maybe their extension agencies are already supporting or serving. So just a thought. We'll have to connect more, but just as everyone's kind of asking their questions about how your programming is set up and you working with the county, I immediately thought about extension.
I know we're time, so we'll wrap this up quickly. Grant funding has been a little bit tricky because I am not a nonprofit. I'm an LLC. However, I am building a partnership with another nonprofit in town that has a teen center, and really looks to serve the whole person and family and, whatever the issue, the struggle is. And so since they are a nonprofit, kind of teaming up for some grant funding and being able to offer some coaching services kind of through and partnering along with another nonprofit is something that's also in the works. I feel like I have like 5 avenues open right now, and I'm just like waiting to see what opens up first is kind of where we're at.
Well, I think it speaks to the fluidity you have to have as a small business owner, right? Like you kind of have to kind of see where your sales go. I think that's wonderful. So thank you so much, Kennedy. We are so
Yes,
excited for
Kennedy.
you, and we'll be cheering you on. And shameless plug, as a FIU member, you are eligible to apply. We have a community impact grant that's due May 1st of each year. So I'm just throwing that out there for anyone who's interested in making a difference in their community via the Community Impact Grant. But if you have more questions, you can email national@fiu.org and definitely follow along with Kennedy. She's at the Family Room EC on social media, and thefamilyroomec.com is her website. So let's give Kennedy a round of applause. Thank you so much, Kennedy. We've enjoyed this.
Kennedy, thank you. This
Thank
was
you.
wonderful. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
great. Wonderful. Well, thank you, everyone. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank all of you for attending. Have a good evening.